What's up, everybody? So, you got to see the special last week. We did a fantastic episode. We reviewed some great content. We're doing kind of this hidden gems story. You're going to see the rest of that in a little bit, but I had to record a little bit about Daredevil because your boy's not feeling it. I mean, up let's be fair. There were reshoots. It was restructured. They moved some things around, but I got to say from how episode 4 ended. And by the way, spoilers. I'm going to put that on the screen for y'all because I don't want anyone to say, well, why are you spoiling stuff? We didn't know you were going to talk about this. I am talking about it right now. I'm going to put that on the screen. Spoilers. Daredevil episode 5 starts off in a way that feels like they brought characters in to really force it into the MCU. mean, I mean, episode 5 feels like all the way from episode 1 till now, we've gotten a lot of good nods and good references to the fact that this Daredevil series is a continuation of the Netflix series, but is also set firmly in the MCU. The Netflix series always kind of skirted, but this one is now firmly solidified, locked in. And I know that with Kingpin and his story with Echo and Hawkeye, we were already there. But we are now doing this with Matt. And although Matt showed up in Spider-Man's movie, I understand. I'm not saying that we didn't already know this, but this series feels like it is trying to prove itself to be a part of this, almost as if those other mentions and other appearances were nods, but they weren't locking it down. This is them locking it down. This is them, and I don't know if I necessarily like how it's being done. I have concerns about why they're doing it this way. I worry that they felt they needed to cement the connection. So they decided to take, I don't know. They decided to ask the writers who were doing the reshoots and the rewrites to connect and add people and cameos and Easter eggs, and I'm like, oh my god, no, it's not what I wanted. So episode 5 is kind of a standalone story, which is another thing that I didn't really want. I've said this on the episodes before. I've heard other people saying it now, which is very sad for me to hear, that everyone is comparing this to kind of a Daredevil Law and Order, Dick Wolf's Daredevil. And I hate that that's what people are saying, but it is what I saw. And it is why I said it a couple weeks ago, that when I watch the show, I feel like I'm watching a procedural set in the MCU that, you know, is kind of trying to have its cake and eat it too by having a serialized story in the background, but we're really focusing on this. Every episode has enough of the serialized story to get you through the season, but we're also still really going to tell you unique stories, and maybe they'll all connect at the end. Maybe that's the true gift that they're giving us, that once this is all done, and we should let them cook and let them really, because D'Onofrio and Cox were both big fans of the work that they had done on the original series, and were coming back, and they knew that they were coming back to do something good, and they spoke with the team, and the story got pivoted, and this is the new direction, and this is what we're seeing. So when I watch it, I know that that energy is there, and I know I trust them. I am still, however, very concerned with what I'm watching, because when I watch episode 5 and it feels like if episode 5 feels like I'm watching an old Hulk episode, Bigsby and Ferrigno episode, where it's a one story set in the series that doesn't need to connect to everything else. You could have episode 5, you could take out episode 5, and you pretty much get episode 6. And that's what bothers me. I want the serialized story. And I know we had a lot of people complaining when the original Disney series, Marvel television stuff was being done in a way that, I guess, almost like films. But there's a difference between doing something like a film, doing something serialized, and doing something as a procedural. And I don't know if they found the middle ground. What I'm watching now is procedural on top of a serialized show. What I saw when I had Falcon and the Winter Soldier, I saw a fully serialized story through a like film style storytelling. Same thing with Secret Invasion, which God, it's so bad. Anyways, with this series now, episode 6 wasn't great either, if I'm being honest. But the end of episode 6 is fantastic. And this is the problem. I shouldn't have had to have watched 2 episodes to get one good set of scenes. Like the final act of this 6th episode was good. It was solid. There was great energy. And I don't want to spoil too much, but I liked what I saw. And the fact that there was so much build up to it, and again, more cameos that I didn't feel we needed, and little nods too. It's some of the little nods that bother me the most. They don't feel organic. They feel like they're forced in. It would be one thing if there's one thing in particular that I saw that I was, if they hadn't done a Easter egg at the beginning that they've paid it off with at the later towards the end, it wouldn't have felt so pushed because the payoff at the end itself could have just been the Easter egg. If you've watched episode 6, you know what I'm talking about. You know who shows up. And I don't know if you caught it, but at the beginning of the episode, someone's looking at their phone and they see this person, this character fighting, and they make reference to the character. And then we see the character later on in the episode. And I just remember thinking, I didn't need the earlier scene where someone's watching their phone and watching that character do their thing. That felt forced. I didn't need it. And it bothers me that they're doing stuff like that. I really think that Daredevil, I don't know. Episode 1 through 4 were okay. I was hoping that the structure was because I was going to see more Daredevil, and I now expect I'm going to see more Daredevil, but I don't like that the episode 5, I don't know. It felt like a filler episode. You know how you have Dragon Ball Z and you have those filler episodes, and all these other shows that have filler, animes have filler, every TV show has filler, except for the Brits. Shout outs to the Brits. When y'all make a TV show, you almost never put filler in. But this episode 5 felt like a filler episode, and it bothers me so much that they did that because it was a filler with Easter eggs, and it drives me nuts that they did that. I don't like it at all. Daredevil episode 5 did not need to feel like they just wrote it to have something put in. And again, and on top of that, I will say this, the fact that Vincent D'Onofrio is not in episode 5, or I don't even remember seeing him in episode 5 because it really is a standalone story. And if you do, you see him for only a split second. It's D'Onofrio should be in. Kingpin is part of the story. Put him in every episode. I understand you're building out stuff, but put him in every episode. Put him. The man has the gravitas. He has the acting chops. He has the presence. I want to see stories with him and all the other characters and his mayoral office and all those people interacting. I want to see them in every episode in some which way or form. Don't give me St. Patrick's Day in a bank. I'm sorry. I don't want that. I'm so annoyed that this is the direction they decided to go for episode 5 just so they could put Easter eggs. I didn't need the Easter egg. I don't need the reference. And the fact that at the time that I'm recording this, Marvel has a live stream video showing all these chairs panning across all the chairs of all the actors that have been in the MCU, or currently, I should say, in the MCU, drives me insane. Because when I look at that, I'm just like, okay, yeah, you're going to announce something cool. And if it's linked to what was said in the episode about people out west, it's so cheesy and it's so poorly done. I'm very disappointed. Marvel, step it up. 3 more episodes of Daredevil. I expect to be wowed. The next phase of the MCU, I expect to be impressed. You can't keep dropping the ball, because DC's on your ass. They're coming. I don't know if Superman's going to be good. I'm holding out hope for something somewhat impressive. Mr. Terrific is one of my favorite characters. I look forward to seeing him done cinematically. But what I am watching right now on from Marvel, I I am not liking it. I'm not feeling the love that, and I'm not to say that all the previous phases were the best phases, even though they were very good. I would say they so far were the best phases, the early phases. There's no reason you can't build up again, but this wasn't it. You have to do better. And it's not people burning out on superheroes or anything like that. I'm not exactly sure what it is, what the element is, but something is missing and it needs to come back because, and sometimes I know people get mad at me when I say it, but sometimes I think it's new blood. I like Feige, but you've been there long enough. You told your story. It might be time for you to step down and let someone else come into the chair and kind of map this out because whatever the plan is, I haven't seen it. I have not seen it. Anyways, we're going to go to the next segment. I want to thank you guys for tuning into this part. Big shout outs to Janessa, to Jaws for doing these hidden gems episodes. I hope you guys like the last one. Also, yeah, again, go check out Irredeemable. That was a fun one. Yeah. Slam Dunk and Weathering with You, I think, is the first three. And then we got some good stuff in the second one. Anyways, peace, y'all. Next segment's coming now. Uncajams.
Why?
I know. Why did I bring it? Why did I do this? Because I'm sick. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe I'm crazy. I put on this hoodie as a nod to what we're starting the episode off with. I hope that feels right.
That's good, yeah.
Fever Dreams, Lost in an Adventure. We're going to be starting it off with a fantastic film that I got to see years ago at Fantasia here in Montreal. And but I am going to leave the stage to Ness, who's going to be talking about something fantastic. Ness, hit us with it, please.
Well. My hidden gem. It's not really a hidden gem. If you're a movie buff or a nerd, you probably know this movie. Which is a Japanese anime film in 2006 called Paprika.
I was so excited. I was sorry.
You're so funny. It actually really does match your sweater like perfectly.
I wasn't joking when I said that I wanted it to match. Like,
yeah,
I had it next to me and I was just like, oh yeah, this is the perfect. I'm gonna put this on for this episode.
Yeah. So Paprika was directed by Satoshi Kon in 2006, which is basically about a scientist named Atsuko. She's also a detective at night, and she goes by the code name Paprika, hence the movie title. And she's working on, her and her colleagues are working on a device called the DC Mini, which essentially is a device that allows them to go into their patients' dreams, which was created to basically help their patients. So they were trying to use it as a form of
like therapy.
Sort of, yeah. It's for them to kind of discover the mind of their patients and figure out, how they can help them. However, one of the prototypes is stolen by someone, and so the movie is kind of about Paprika trying to find the stolen prototype before it's too late, because if it's in the wrong hands, it could be harmful to someone's mind. They can damage someone's mind. Destroy someone's mind.
I love the idea that you design something that is so lethal and dangerous. And even though you're doing it for altruistic reasons initially with this really great intent, it really does come to the thing of just because you can, should you? Just because I can make something that
Yeah.
can help, like, oh, just because I can make the thing that helps me get into people's minds to help them be better, should I? And like, should I? Do I consider on the back end? What if someone uses this for the wrong reasons? So
Yeah, I think that comes with the risk though. Like I think if you know how to create something great, it doesn't mean
yeah.
don't create it. I think maybe we need to work more on figuring out a way to protect these types of things
Mm,
so that it doesn't get in the wrong hands.
yeah.
But that's a whole other thing on its
Yeah,
own.
whole other conversation. We're gonna go deep down the
Yeah.
rabbit hole if we start talking about that one.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But the movie itself is beautiful again, sort of like I shouldn't say again. This movie in general is just a beautiful watch. It's very cinematic. It has amazing visuals. Even though it's in 2006, it is on the older side.
Hmm,
It's still beautiful visuals. And the colors of and the lighting and everything is just done really well.
hmm.
I do want to touch upon the fact that I'm sure you guys have heard, and I'm sure other people have heard,
Ah,
that this movie was, or I should say, the movie Inception was heavily influenced by this movie, Paprika.
Mm.
Um,
I have a big old shit eating grin right now. Yeah, because I
I just,
remember seeing Paprika at Fantasia and then seeing Inception and being like, "Wow, this looks familiar."
wait a second.
Yeah, the hallway run stuff and like there's a bunch of stuff that I was like, I've seen this before.
Yeah.
And then some other people are probably like, nah, 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 man. It goes back to like a Donald Duck comic with Scrooge McDuck, and they have to go inside it. That was, I think, the funniest thing that came out. Like everyone was like, no, what about this other thing? And you're like, they're like suspended and they got these
Yeah.
things on their head. And I'm like, wow.
I mean,
Yeah.
yes. Sorry, Ness, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say the thing is like it's not the exact same premise
Right.
of Inception, but the idea is the same. And not only the idea, but they have many scenes in
Yes.
the movie that are almost like duplicate
Right.
to Paprika. So that's really interesting. Although Nolan never admitted to it being an influence, so
Which kind of sucks
that's a
because that could
controversy on
have
its own.
that sucks because it could have brought more attention to Paprika and have people seek it out more. Like the Wachowskis were saying, hey, Ghost in the Shell. That's what we were trying to pull
Yeah,
off.
but kind
And
of
they
like
said it. They said it out in the
but
open.
a lot of the times, I don't want to like shit on Americans, but a
Mm.
lot of times they steal ideas and pretend like it's their own. So I'm not going to say this is exactly what happened, but it's apparently a known thing. Yeah, thank you.
So I
Um,
posted for those of you who might be listening to this, I posted up an image of the side by side comparisons. And if you've seen Inception, you have the shot where what's the character's name? Persephone? No, not Persephone. Ariadne's character,
Yeah.
played by Elliot Page. Ariadne touching the glass, which is the same as in Paprika. You have Tom Hardy looking in the mirror and seeing the multiple reflections.
Yeah.
That was also done in Paprika. You have Joseph Gordon-Levitt running down a hallway that is kind of warping. That was done in Paprika. And then you have the kind of hallway gravity adjustment of Joseph Gordon-Levitt, and that was also done in Paprika. So those panels are all on the screen right now if you're listening.
Right. Which is very, if you look at it, it looks like it's pretty obvious that he was influenced by Paprika. But he's never admitted to it. He's never said that it was influenced. And it's a known thing apparently that he is
Yeah.
a fan of this director.
Mm.
So it's kind of like the elephant in the room, I feel
Right.
like.
Yeah.
But he's never spoken about it, and I think
Do you think that he worries if he acknowledged it, it would? Because I mean, I know we joked about the Americans, but and I guess technically it is an American film, but he is a British director, and I'm just wondering if it's just kind of this weird thing of like, you know, keep calm, carry on, like, you know, okay, that, you know, I don't want them to think that I can't come up with my own ideas, so I won't necessarily feed into the fact that I was influenced by this, which I think is a mistake, but I
guess
just wonder.
he just didn't want to admit that, because it's a different storyline, I guess
Mm.
maybe that's why he didn't want to say it was influenced, because then people would think, oh, it's based on Paprika,
Yeah.
or it's an adaptation, American version
Oh,
of
okay, okay. I see
Paprika.
what
So
it
maybe
would always be
like,
compared to.
Right.
yeah,
Okay.
maybe, I don't know. I mean, I think if it was if he was influenced by it, then I think it'd be cool of him to just say like,
Yeah.
I watched this Japanese animated film that heavily influenced my story, whatever, like.
I'm just thinking that like in Inception when you find in the safe at the end of the movie when they're like 4 levels down in the Inception, and that kind of like what is his core thing? Nolan's core thing will be like Paprika on VHS in his safe. Someone will open the safe in his mind and be like, it was the
Secret.
inspiration.
Like, yeah. Yeah, because it's like, I mean, it is different stories. Like, one is
Yeah.
like a scientist who's created the device and she's trying to use it to help psychiatric patients. Whereas like this one, Inception, is more of like a, I guess, in a crime way
Yeah,
where
like
they're
corporate.
using
It's a
it.
heist
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
they're
yeah.
using it against people to try and figure like secrets out and whatever. Like it's
to incept the idea.
Yeah.
The
yeah,
company off.
yeah, exactly. So it's a different, I guess, way, but it's still the same concept of going into someone's dreams. And yeah, I don't know. I think he was influenced.
Yeah, yeah. Honestly, though, for those of you who've genuinely never seen, if you want to watch it on YouTube, go to our YouTube channel because when I put up the panels, they're on the screen again. It really is hard to pretend like because, for example, I know for me when I watched Inception the first time and I saw the mirror thing that was done by Ariadne touching the mirror, seeing the reflection, the world's kind of collapsing on themselves. I remember thinking for a moment, I'm like, man, I've seen that before. And at the time, I couldn't remember exactly where I'd seen it, but it does feel. And I know the Matrix has a thing where he touches the glass and it kind of comes all over him, but that's different from like looking at the mirror and like the interaction with the mirror and being able to manipulate the reflective world, right? Like it's that idea of like breaking through. I hadn't seen that way, and other than Paprika, so it really did feel like, oh, I'm looking at someone who has, you can't tell me. I mean, it's possible that they storyboarded this and didn't think and didn't remember, but it feels like one of those things where I'll say this really quick. Robin Williams used to always talk about how he used to get in trouble because sometimes he would steal people's material.
Right.
And he would, if people confronted him, Robin would always say, "Oh, that's where that came from. I'm sorry," and write the check. Because he understood that there's a very high possibility that some of the stuff is stuff that he comes up with, and some of the stuff is very much just he watched it and didn't remember from where and incorporated it and just didn't remember. And when people could show like this is where that came from, he was just like, sign the check, here you go. Because he understood that's a very high probability. So not that I wanted to talk about Inception this much. My apologies for taking away from
No,
Paprika.
it's fine. It's something that's relevant, and I think a lot of people I think Inception is a bigger movie than Paprika.
Sadly,
so it's something I'm sure a lot of people don't know, that there's a movie out there that's like Inception, or similar to Inception, and especially it was 2006, and I think Inception came out 2011.
I'll double check. Yeah, let me look it up.
And I know that it's been a thing, like Inception was like a story that Nolan was working on for like many years. So
Inception came out in 2010. Yeah.
2010. Okay, 2010. So yeah, apparently Nolan was working on Inception for many years. So that I seen a lot of like Reddit threads where people were like arguing that like, oh, Nolan's been working on this movie for years. Like I don't think it's influenced by Paprika, but I mean, 2006 to 2010 is still 4 years,
and again, for me, it's not a factor of if he was inspired by it. It's the shots. It's one thing to say I've been writing this story years before I saw this other movie,
right?
But then at the same time, that's fine if you wrote a story, but then you directed the movie, edited the movie, and you have shots that look exactly the same. So sure, you wrote something different, but you had shots that you. Sorry, Jaws.
I was gonna say, and you spent a lot of money on those shots. Like the
Yeah.
fact that
Yeah.
you build a whole rig just so you could turn a whole hallway around, put actors in the middle of that hallway, and then flip them around all over the damn thing.
No, for
Yeah.
real. Like
That's
it's just
insane.
yeah. So and it's just kind of sad that Paprika. I mean, it's still a like it's still a well criticized movie, and
Yeah, it's loved. I
it's
wonder what the
loved,
can I look
but
up the
it's
Rotten Tomato score? I know I don't usually
yeah,
care
yeah,
about Rotten
it's
Tomato scores,
high.
but I'll look.
But I just feel like Paprika isn't getting its flowers as much as Inception did. Like Inception was really, to me, it's an overrated film, to be honest.
Ooh.
Um,
Whew, that take is
which
hot.
is, yeah, I was gonna say that's not a. I think it's not a common
Oh
outlook on
wow.
Inception.
This is one of the most matched I've ever seen. The critic score is 87, the audience score is 88.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow,
it's very rare to see them that close.
yeah. But I don't know. I just feel like Paprika would have gotten more credit if Nolan had recognized or gave it its flowers, saying
Yeah.
like, I was influenced, even if it wasn't the exact same story. Like maybe he wasn't influenced by the story, but just the like you said, the scenes. Like if he
Yeah.
said like, oh yeah, the scenes were influenced, or I don't know, but it is what it is. I just think if you haven't seen Paprika, you should watch it.
Mhm.
I don't think it's on any streaming
Yeah,
services.
it'd be a little bit difficult to get a
You
hold
might have to go to sources, people.
Yeah, you might have to go to
or buy the
sources.
DVD if you
Yeah,
can.
sorry, actually support it. Sorry, Jaws is right. Jaws coming out with the factual way to support it. We're talking about support. He's right. Go buy the film.
Although I don't know if it's still there. It should be, but I think there's a version on YouTube. So
I would also say other works from Satoshi Kon are Perfect Blue. He was the director on that. Millennium Actress, where he was the director and writer. Tokyo Godfathers, which I brought up before on this show, director, writer, and then the last thing he did was Paprika. For those were movies. For television shows, an anime he did that I really liked was Paranoia Agent, director and writer, and Good Morning, which I haven't seen. It was like a 1 minute short film that aired on TV. And sad to say, he left this earth in 2010. He was only
Oh,
46.
that's so sad.
wow.
Yeah.
He left this
So
earth
young.
the year that Inception came out. I'm not gonna say anything else.
Oh,
That's all oh, that's wrong of me to say, but I had to say it. The dates,
it
the
tapped
dates.
into his dreams.
Yeah. That's
Damn.
very sad, but I mean, yeah, very talented, and Paprika is
Yeah.
fantastic. So, definitely something
Go
people should.
watch.
Yeah. If
He's a
you
legend. He is a legend in the game, though. Like any anime person that's really been into anime, you've probably seen some of his stuff at some point.
that's awesome. Yeah. I made this comment before about supporting, but Jaws is right. Definitely, if you can, buy the Blu-ray or rent it. From one of those services. The sources are fun, but
Go to your library. Local library actually
Yeah.
has DVDs and Blu-rays. and
yes,
stuff like that.
true. Check out, yeah. And then in the States, speaking of, if you're in Canada, go to your local library and stuff like that. If you're in the States, from what I understand, y'all have some wild services, Hoopla and all these things where, like, if you have a library card, you can just rent digital movies and stuff like that. So go support. And if Paprika is one of those ones. I know we talked a lot about Inception, but if anything, it was to kind of make the kind of leverage the fact that Inception and Paprika have similarities, and kind of take advantage of that idea of similar to, like, if you know this, you might know that. Paprika is one of those things that if you liked Inception, you should definitely give Paprika a chance. It is very, very good.
Yeah.
I had another thing, talk about having the costumes. I wanted to talk about a film that and a series that I loved many, many eons ago. And it's one of those things where I really genuinely feel like Fox wanted to f them up early. And I don't know why. I don't understand why this decision was made. I was talking about this with friends yesterday, but Firefly, the series that was on Fox Joss Whedon, was originally aired out of order, and so many weird decisions were made. And it's just, I'll never understand. September 2002, Fox had the series, and 14 episodes were produced. They got a movie. Weirdly enough, when they made the series, they decided the pilot wasn't strong enough, and instead of airing the pilot, which kind of gave you, I mean, most pilots are intentionally made this way to introduce characters, to introduce backstory, kind of give you motivations behind characters. A lot of times your pilot and your second episode often will reiterate those things, because a pilot is filmed early on before they sell it to the network, and then if the network picks it up, they'll take it and run with it, and then they'll take that second episode to kind of take off again. And then I just never understood why they decided to show it out of order. It was very sad that they did that, and I think it hurt the series quite a bit. Because
DVDs came out.
Yes,
watched in proper order.
And there you go. So that's the thing. I think one of the reasons that we got the Serenity film was because when the DVD came out and the series got its proper order watch, and it became kind of a cult classic for people, and you got the character motivations and the core decision making behind so many characters early on in order. By the time you got to the end, you were satisfied and you wanted more. And then you got the movie, and unfortunately the movie didn't really do as well. And, one of my friends yesterday was saying, one of my friends that I spoke with about this was saying, well, it was probably a really unfortunate decision to make a movie about a show that you never gave a chance.
Yeah, that no one watched technically. And not even name it after the TV show. You named it after
the ship.
And you're like, well, I don't understand what this has to do with anything,
It made no sense, and I almost still love them for it, because
to my understanding, or from what I've seen or read, I think it's one of those things where one executive comes in, they like Joss Whedon. Hey, we're going to let you do a show. We're going to let you do what you want. You could run with it, blah, 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 blah. And then as he's making it, and before it comes out, that executive is gone.
Oh,
and then another executive comes in, sees it. This thing is not strong. Like, let's put something on. And then that's where they try to put their stamp on it, kind of thing, and it screws up everything. And then everything's gone to crap, and then someone else gets kicked out, and then another one comes in. It's almost like when Prince was, he was working with Warner Brothers Records,
right?
And he signed his contract when he was really young, and they gave him a shitty deal,
right?
And then he's a big superstar now, and he's just like, no, I'm not dealing with you guys anymore. I want to do what I want to do. I want to put out albums like back to back to back, and like, don't do that. You're gonna saturate the market.
Yeah.
And then that executive leaves, and another one comes out. Oh well, let's see if we can kind of work something out with Prince. And Prince is like, nope, don't like you still. But I'm a different dude. Don't care. And then that person leaves. Next one, let's try to crack this Prince nut. No, don't care.
And we, the audience, are the people who are being abused by these labels. And you see these execs come in, they make a lot of decisions because they think they know what's best, and I have yet to see an exec who knows the audience 110%. They all really need to take a page and kind of watch what the patterns are a little bit closely, and then if I'm being honest, you ignore the pattern a little bit, because you're gonna have to, like, the pattern that works one way for Star Trek and for all the other sci-fi that was on at the time wasn't going to be the same for what was literally a sci-fi western. It wasn't
exactly.
It wasn't a sci-fi procedural in space, Planet of the Week. It was a procedure. It was a sci-fi western serial where there's a core story about dealing with government and. So that's one of the things that I felt. That's the other thing. A procedural show can be shown out of order, because other than the pilot for Star Trek, like when the original Star Trek: The Next Generation pilot, where Beyond Something Point, or whatever the title is, where it's like
the ships were different.
Yeah, like you get that two-parter, and you have that whole big story with Picard coming on the ship, and after that, every episode is week to week on a different planet doing whatever you want, and you almost rarely, very rarely, make reference to what happened the previous weeks.
Right.
So you can show that out of order. But when you have something that is specifically told in an order, and Whedon really did that, he really wanted to make it a serialized story, and you burn that to the ground by showing the episodes out of order early on, the story makes no sense and is impossible to follow. So I truly believe that, and I'm not this, this kind of hidden gems joke of it. I might say that, and Firefly is not really a hidden gem. Serenity wasn't a hidden gem. The fact that I'm able to buy merch for it doesn't mean it's hidden, but I want people to give it a chance and revisit it. There's a whole new generation of sci-fi fans that I feel don't know it because it's not really. It doesn't have the same kind of longevity or popularity as the sci-fi series that ran for multiple years because it only had one season. So,
and they need to sing more songs about Jane.
I wanted to, I really do, because Adam Baldwin, right? Is that the? Yeah, Adam Baldwin is. That's another thing. I forgot that I wanted to mention, but when you talk about cast, and I'd mentioned this earlier when I was talking to you guys and other people. Tarantino doing Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and everyone saying, wow, he really cast just a series of soon-to-be fantastic talent.
Mean
Once Upon a Time in Hollywood?
That's the most recent one he did.
Yeah. And in that movie, he has Mikey Madison, who just won an Oscar. He had Ashton. What's the guy's name that played Elvis, who changed the way he speaks?
Oh, Butler.
Aston Butler. Austin Butler. Thank you. Yes. You have him. You have like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood had a bunch of young actors. What's the other one? The girl that was in Substance, not Demi Moore, but the other actress. I can't remember right now, unfortunately. But
I'm almost there. Margaret.
Yeah, Quigley.
Quigley, is that it?
Yeah, I think so. Margaret Quigley. All those people are in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Tarantino picked these actors with his casting agent. Obviously, it wasn't just him, but they picked this and made a film. And although those actors all have small roles, you have small roles for a group of people who go on to be very, very famous and very talented actors. And sometimes when I think of Firefly and I think of the casting agent and I think of Joss Whedon, and you think of that cast of Nathan Fillion, who went on to be the star of Castle and the star of the Rookie, and he's now Guy Gardner in a gun film, and he's been in other gun projects because he's friends with Gunn, but he's also an actual talented actor. You have Gina Torres, who is a beautiful woman and fantastic actress who has been in
Cleopatra 25 shout out.
Yes, Cleopatra 25. Like, she had done her sci-fi thing, but she came back, and I would imagine
the Matrix.
Right. Like she's done such great films, and then you see her in this, and like, not to say this is her starting off, but she was such a presence. If anything, she added to this cast and like elevated all those around. Alan Tudyk, who at the time was an unknown, and then went on to become one of the best, most popular voice actors. He's on Harley.
I liked him. I really liked him in Transformers.
Sure. I just wanted to like acknowledge, like, when you watch a show and he's kind of that kind of kooky character, and those voices, that voice acting skill was also brought over. But yeah, like Resident Alien that he has now, his own TV show. Yes, Transformers, Rogue One. Yeah, like the guy is just
Moana, he plays the chicken.
Exactly. So like the talent is fantastic. Summer Glau, who was in Terminator and was on here, super talented. Marina Baccarin, who plays the companion. She is so wonderful in the show. She's so she adds like such an interesting dynamic with her and Nathan Fillion. Canadian actress Jewel State, who went on to, she's in her own show Family Law now in Canada that she's been doing for a couple seasons. And Ron Glass, who is a historically fantastic black actor who starred in Detective Ron Harris on Barney Miller and
Peter Ron Glass.
Yeah. So Whedon is putting together this show, this space cowboy show, and that's the cast he put together for it. And you have to go, well, what the was he doing? Like that's a murder's row of talent, and then when you realize that Fox didn't let it live, you're just like, come on. That's where it really bothers me. So that's one of the reasons that I.
Didn't he also do Dollhouse, and like he did Dollhouse, and that was 2 seasons, but again, Fox screwed with it again.
Yeah,
like, he keeps going back.
Dollhouse is one of the scarier shows too, because they really start doing some cool stuff that, you know, they hint at throughout the season and then pay it off really well and then got canceled. And that's the thing. Same thing with Firefly. So many things were hinted at, you know. Alex, what's the name? I'm going to look him up real quick because he's really good in it. Good versus Evil. The show had 2 lead characters.
I also know Firefly also got a comic book series that kind of maybe fleshed out more of the series and the universe as well.
Yes.
So I think that was also a thing.
I was going to bring up Richard Brooks, who was on Law and Order. He played Paul Robinette. He's on Law and Order he was main cast for 3 first seasons. He does an episode of Firefly where he plays Jubal Early, where he's hunting the team. And it's such a good episode. I remember it's one of those episodes that I watched multiple times because I was just like, this episode is incredible. And then because of that, it was hard for me to watch the film Serenity, not in a bad way, but Chiwetel Ejiofor's character in the movie feels like he's playing the same thing as when he plays the operative, because that episode that Richard Brooks is in, where they're like being hunted and he like gets into the ship, that's kind of the back half of the movie,
right?
And I just remember thinking like, oh, okay, because most people haven't seen the show, they're able to reuse this. So for me, I didn't mind it because I got a film out of it, and it was just really well done. But you know, for those of you who might not have seen it, like to watch the show and watch that movie, because then you get to compare this kind of similar used story arc, but one version fleshed out more in a film and one version done in like a 45-minute episode, and both are just fantastic. So yeah, that's my hunjam of an IP.
I like it. I like
it. Jaws, you had one for us.
Yeah,
this is I've heard you talk about this before, so I'll let you take the stage.
Okay, it's called Hajime no Ippo. I'm focusing again on the anime version of it. So there's Hajime no Ippo: The Fighting, which is the first series that ran from 2000 to 2003. The New Challenger, which was the second season, which was 2009, and Rising, which was from 2013 to 2014. A total of 124 episodes. But because they're gapped, the 2003 looks more done in a painting, like old school animation cell kind of style. I can't remember if the 2009 series is the same way, and then it was only in the 2013 one where it was more, you could tell it's done on a computer kind of thing, like not CGI, but just animated on a computer. So it looks a little bit flatter, and it's in that weird transition period where they're trying to figure it out. And but they, you know, it kind of still comes together. It feels a little bit weird as you're watching it, and as you get along and get used to it, you're like, oh, okay, it's fine.
Real quick, can I ask you, because you told me there's a GIF that's really famous. What season is that GIF from?
I want to say either the first or the second season, but I want to say probably either the end of the first season or the second season that happened. So it's this GIF of him doing the Dempsey roll, which is like a rocking back and forth where you're completely swaying your like think Mike Tyson when Mike Tyson,
using full body leverage.
So think of Mike Tyson when he comes up to you and he's swaying back and forth and he's hitting you with the punches left, right.
Yeah.
And then each punch is saying stop posting, left, right, stop posting.
Wild.
So basically this anime is a boxing anime. It's another sports anime. It was created by George Morikawa. The manga came out in 1989. It started in 1989 and it's still ongoing. It's
Okay.
still ongoing.
Wow.
But the anime, I think it goes through some like a good chunk of the arcs, but I don't think it's all the way. It's not all the way caught up.
Okay.
So it's about this kid named Ippo Makanochi, and he's an extremely shy high school student. Again, takes place in high school, and he doesn't really have a lot of friends because he's mostly helping his mom with their fishing charter business. So basically, people come out to their shop, they want to go fishing, so the mom goes out on the boat with the people that are going to fish. They go to a fishing spot, they fish, and they come back. So he's always helping his mom. He's always carrying all these heavy bags and stuff like that. He's getting picked on and stuff, and then at some point he sees another main character in the show doing road work, just running around, named Mamoru Takamura, and he's like, an actual boxer and stuff, and he's like, you know what, I'm gonna bring him to my gym and show him how to, he helps him out with the bullies and stuff. He's like, just do a little, just show how to punch. He's like, he doesn't know how to punch. He's like, okay, look, you have to, you get your fists like this,
Yeah.
and then you twist your hips into it, you shoot off from the ground with your legs, you shift in, and you punch.
You get
That's all you
power.
need to do.
Yeah, you power through. Yeah.
So I think he teaches him how to just do I think it was just a straight punch. A jab.
Yeah.
And he does it, and it's a powerful punch. And Takamura's like, what the fuck? Wait, whoa.
Right.
Slow. He's like, okay. And then he's like, oh, train me. He's like, no, I'm working on my own stuff. He's like, okay, fine. This is what I want you to do. Kick the tree, and he grabs and he jabs, right? And he grabs like 5 leaves that fall down off the tree. And he's like, if you can grab 5 leaves, then I could train you. I'll get you trained and stuff. So he's just there all night trying to do it. And then he figures it out, and then he comes back. He's like, I did it. I got it. He's like, oh yeah, show me what you got. And he's like, jabu. He's like just doing jabs. And then the jabs are really good. And he's like, this kid figured it out.
Right.
And so it's him training at this boxing gym with the old man trainer, Genji Kamagura, excuse me. And
we already joked about how we ain't gonna pronounce these properly, so you're all good.
And then he's got all these other, again, Ippo is the audience stand-in. So
yeah,
if you don't know anything about boxing,
right?
This is the character that's learning all about boxing. So it's about his journey, meeting friends in the gym, who are his elders kind of thing. Not his elders, but like the people above him, and then Takamura. So Takamura is like slowly becoming the heavyweight champion of Japan, and working his way up to that. And then I think Ippo is like maybe a two weight classes below that. And so he's learning, and as he's learning, he's getting better. And you find out that, Ippo's got some muscle on him because he's helping his mom at the fish markets, at their charter business. So he's always picking up all this heavy stuff. So he's already got muscle on him, and that's why he's not good, but he already has like a foundation of muscle.
But it's that idea, especially in North America. There's the kind of like the prairies and the Midwest, where it's just like those farm kids.
Mm-hmm.
You're kind of like, oh, it's just a farm kid. It was just like, yeah, but they're lifting bales of hay their whole life.
Yeah, like it's nothing.
Yeah.
And what's really cool about this show is that, if you could watch the show and pick up like, oh, this character's named this character's named that. Oh, he has a punch. This character has a punch called the smash, and that. And then you could, write down little notes, and then you realize the show is kind of going through boxing history.
Oh,
kind
cool.
of thing. So with Ippo, his boxing style is called the Dempsey roll. His main move is called the Dempsey roll, and that's what Mike Tyson does. That's what Jack Dempsey created. Okay. So it's you kind of bob your head, but you're moving your head in a figure 8 infinity motion to get out of people's fists. And as you're doing it, use that momentum to come in and do hooks.
Right.
And so there's that. And like each character kind of, well, for the most part, all the quote unquote important characters are modeled off of actual boxers. So there's a character that has like, oh, he's got the Hitman style, and he's doing, he's rocking his fist and his elbow back and forth, and he drops it low, and he just flickers his arm out. So there's an actual boxer called Hearns, the Hitman Hearns. Wait, hold on, let me double check that. Boxer. And so like there's Hitman. Thomas Hearns, yeah, Thomas the Hitman Hearns. And so he had a thing called the flicker jab. He was super tall, lanky, and he would just keep people away with that flicker jab, and he would just throw it out there. I think one of the world heavyweights is Mexican, is a Mexican boxer, and then the heavyweight contendant, the heavyweight contender from Japan goes and fights him, and he like loses. But apparently the boxer that's the Mexican boxer is actually based off an actual real life boxer that the creator loved a lot. Like I really enjoyed watching and stuff.
Wow. Okay.
So Ippo is more so based off of Mike Tyson, because when later on in the series, Ippo is finding success and everything like that. And when he finds success, he changes his boxing shorts into black. So he goes from white into a black pair of trunks.
Okay.
And then his rival is, if I remember, it's Ichiro Miyata, if I remember right. Let me just double check here.
Yeah.
Ichiro Miyata, and his fighting style, he's more of an out boxer. So he keeps far away. He focuses on countering, and his fighting style is more based off of Muhammad Ali's fighting style.
Oh, cool.
So they're pulling from a lot of boxing history. So like you could watch the show and then go back and like, hey, I heard about this. Oh, that's this boxer, and you can fall down that rabbit hole and stuff.
I like that the history of the sports are in, like, even with when you talked about Slam Dunk, the history of the sport is an element that the writers really focus on, which I find cool, because I don't know, like, I mean, if you're gonna make a fictional version of a sport, yes, it's important to acknowledge the sport and you could nod to it, but to like hide Easter eggs and stuff, I think is really cool. So
yeah. It's definitely something. And then if you read the manga, you're clearly seeing the real world people kind of not in the background, but like you go to Ippo's room and there's a picture of Mike Tyson, like just straight up. There's a picture of Mike Tyson there. But you can't really do that in an anime because you don't want to be one, too obvious, two, you might have to pay the rights to that person.
Right.
So there's a lot of that going on, and yeah, so it's really cool. Definitely a fun watch. There's some other memes that popped up over the years related to this anime where, I just mentioned the stop posting gif. There's another one called Gang Gang. So if you put Ippo and Gang Gang, there's like this song, Gang, 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 Gang. I don't fuck with you if you don't gang bang. And it's just Ippo and his crew at the boxing gym. They're at a karaoke place because they're Japanese. Of course, they're gonna be at a karaoke place.
Yeah,
and they're all singing, and then they're just bobbing their head, like just really getting into the song and singing along and hyping themselves up because they all got like matches coming up the following day, and someone just took this song Gang Gang and superimposed it onto that, and it's just super hilarious. Just see all these guys just going nuts. Exactly. That's
I think I found yeah. So if you're listening to this, I was able to find the image for it.
So they're just pumping their fists down, they're stomping their feet. So they're singing some song called The Champion. And so when they're there, they're like, oh great, Takamura always sings this song, like Jesus. But then as he's singing it for like the 10th time, each guy gets more into it, and 5th time, and 15th time, and everyone else is so then they all start singing along with him. Yes, we're gonna be champions. That
is pretty cool.
So it's really cool. Again, it's one of those shows where it's comedy. There's definitely a comedy where, oh hey, they're gonna do a sparring match with Takamura. No, there's a scene where they're doing an arm wrestling match. So Ippo has to do an arm wrestling match with Takamura or with the two other guys below him, above him. And if we win, then you have to like ask this girl out that we think that we know you like. And Ippo just wins. He just wins. She's like, no, I'm not telling her. That's like a whole big thing in Japanese culture. Is that revealing of emotions to someone. So they always don't want to do it.
That's so funny.
So it gets to Takamura. And Takamura's like, he's like the heavyweight. So he's like, oh, I'm going to do it. And then they get into like a standstill. So like, they're just going. And then they destroy
The
the
table.
platform they're on. Just
Jesus.
and it turns out Takamura, and he ends up on top of Ippo, and Ippo's hand is down on the floor, and he's like, "No, I don't want to tell her." And he's like, "I want." So it's really cute. It's again, it's like one of those things where Ippo's is not a delinquent, but like the other three guys that are above him, including Takuma, were delinquents, and then the coach, the boxing coach, was like, "No, like you need to find direction in your life and be more disciplined," and then
Yeah.
that's what happened. You see the toughness about the trials and tribulations of being a boxer, like when you have to cut weight and you
Right.
drink water, and just the pain behind that, or you can't eat for a bit because you have to cut weight,
Right.
and the training and what they go through and stuff like
Yeah,
that. And,
yeah. When it comes to boxing, there's a colleague of mine at work, and she's recently started boxing,
Mhm.
and she posted she won her first match.
Oh,
I
wow.
mean, it's an exhibition match, and technically there's no winner, but
Mhm.
everyone, not just her, but everyone who's talked about it talks about how she kind of, if you were doing it by the numbers, she would have won.
Right.
And it's just, whenever I've asked her, like, what's it like? She's just like, yeah, like prep is hard. Like, that's the stuff that, we get to watch what, the 2-minute rounds, 12 2-minute
12
rounds.
Yeah. I think, yeah.
But that 30 minutes that is going to just come and go is only a small portion of the weeks and months of preparation
Exactly.
and mental psych out. So it's nice that they're, like you were saying, the gang thing is about team building and
Yeah.
trust, because sometimes I imagine they're doing stuff like that with like their cornermen
Mhm.
and their team. So like these are people who have to know if, like, do I have to throw in the towel? Do I have to, like, all the different stages. So boxing is a very interesting sport. I've always thought about, like, I've had people be like, you should try out boxing, and I'm like, nah. It looks cool as hell, but I don't want to punch the head, man.
Everyone has a plan until they're hit in the head.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
And
But it's cool.
It's
Muhammad
animated.
Ali right here for those of
yeah.
you. Yeah, I put him up on the background there.
Really, really good animation. The buildup is always great, and then seeing someone overcome or fail is always amazing to watch. And just seeing everyone kind of like come together. It's one of those things where you watch it when you're younger, like, oh, that's so awesome. I'm going to start working out, and you get older, you're like, oh man, look at them trying to achieve their dreams. And,
Yeah.
I hope the younger generation gets to do that and has hope for themselves and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's a really, really good show, and it's really fun. Again, on Netflix, if I remember right,
Right.
Canadian Netflix, probably on
Crunchyroll or
on
something.
Crunchyroll. I'm just trying to where to watch.
And then, like we were saying before, if you guys know, if you're in the States, there's Hoopla and all these different other library services, the services that you can use to rent digital content. And it also helps keep support public libraries and stuff like that, because that's one of those things. I mean, in the world where libraries aren't, every show jokes about how library is just where creeps go to like look at inappropriate things, and I always find that to be such a depressing idea of what a library has become, because when I was younger, going to the library was a lot of fun. Like when I was in high school, I know I'm old, but when I was in high school, going with my friends to the library to study and sitting down and reading a good book and interacting with people, and your librarians were always holding you down, helping you find stuff and helping you get to that knowledge. And the fact that they moved with the times and have, like, there's a library here in Montreal, one of our biggest libraries, that has a whole section dedicated to manga, and they have a whole section dedicated to graphic novels and comic books, and they have a whole section dedicated to movies and videos and stuff like that. So the library is not just for books; it's essentially a home for collecting media. And in a world where the media doesn't necessarily stay on the streaming services, big note, not all your favorite things get to just stay on streaming services. It's nice that my local library might have that movie that I can't find anywhere because no one wants to pay the licensing, but it's still available at my library. So consider checking out your local library. I don't know why I'm on this tip right now, but it just feels like an important place to be. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Jaws, anything you want to tell people before we bounce?
Check out Transformers Slag and a Torimata podcast with Aaron Archer on YouTube.
Bong bong, folks. And that's it. Also, we'll be back with another one soon. We appreciate you guys checking us out, tuning in, and you can always visit our website, GeekCypha.com. That's GeekCypha.com. gmail.com. We're out, y'all. Peace. Have a good one.
Peace.